Hello, this is Linda Fitzgerald with the SBDC. Thank you so much for joining us. I am the host of today's webinar, and today I'm excited to introduce to you Zack. He's going to present on social media ads, 15 essential ingredients. But before I introduce Zack, we need to talk about a few other things. Zack, can you go to the next slide for me?
Yep.
This is the Shasta-Cascade Small Business Development Center. We're a nonprofit organization. We provide confidential, no-cost advisory and training services to small businesses. Now, it doesn't matter where you are in the US, there is an SBDC. If you are in Shasta or Shasta or Trinity counties, our Shasta-Cascade SBDC office is the one that serves you. What we really want you to know is you're going to hear a lot from Zack, and you might think, oh my goodness, how am I going to put this in place? If you're in Shasta or Trinity counties, you can actually meet with Zack and have him help you with this because he's an advisor with the SBDC. What that means is you can get, like I said before, no cost advisory services from Zack and other advisors at the SBDC. The services are paid for with your tax dollars, so take advantage of this. We're funded in part through the Small Business Administration and HSU Foundation. I'd like to start off by reading our disclaimer. The information provided in this webinar and any supplemental materials provided to registrants are intended for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute professional, legal, or financial advice. No registrant should act or fail to act on the basis of any material contained in this webinar without obtaining proper financial, legal, and other professional advice specific to their situation. The Northern California Small Business Development Center and its host, the HSU-sponsored Programs Foundation, specifically disclaims any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the information presented in this webinar. And I am hosting this webinar for Zack. So what I'd like you to do, when Zack offers in a few minutes, he'll get started. I'll hand it over to Zack in just a moment. When he gets started, if you have questions, you're welcome to hold them until he opens it up for questions. You can turn on your microphone and ask a question at that point, or you can type questions in the chat and I'll relay those questions to Zack. So for now, I'd like to introduce to you Zack Barton.
Okay, thanks, Linda. You're a total pro. You somehow made that, even that disclaimer, very palatable. So I think you should be a voiceover. You do a great job. Linda is great. Thanks, guys, for coming. Just a really quick couple bullet points about myself, just in case you don't know who I am, who's this person that's about to be speaking. So my name is Zack Barton. In addition to being an SBDC advisor, I'm the director of a company called Barton Interactive. We have offices in downtown Reading and near Cleveland, Ohio since 2014. So I lead a full service web design agency by managing web design and development, digital marketing, advertising, and other projects to help establish businesses and organizations' online presence, sometimes offline as well. I've had the privilege of serving clientele including Eddie Bauer, Wet Seal, The Vitamin Shop, T-Mobile, Ely Tahari, Skechers, Bethel, if you're in the Reading area, and more. So just a really quick agenda, so we're not flying blind here. So we already kind of opened it up. I'm going to give a quick introduction and objectives, and then we're going to dive into the meat of this thing, which is going to be kind of 15 tried and true tips for those who are entering the world of social media ads or thinking of dipping their toe in that water. My team and I have been very, very involved in that world and have learned a lot of things. Some of those things are things that you can also learn in the training. We're also trained by Facebook and Google, have certifications there. But some of these things really you kind of have to learn. I hate to say it, but on the streets, so to speak. You have to kind of learn the hard way. So there's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff in here. But I would say if you're really wanting to get into this, at the end, I'm going to share how you can further your education. And as Linda mentioned, you can always reach out for more. Okay, so a lot of information here. Buckle up. I realized yesterday boy, there's so much information in this. It's so much textual information that I thought, I can't put you guys to sleep. I don't want you guys falling asleep on me. So I sprinkled a bunch of memes on top of this presentation yesterday. So that's going to be, I'm trying to keep it fun for you guys. As Linda mentioned, feel free to drop a question in to the chat where she's going to be kind of monitoring that. And then also, if we can, we'll try to keep it a little bit more conversational, but I know we had over 100 registrants for today. And so I don't think we can go full on conversational mode. We just don't have the time for it. But so basic objective here, and that would be this. So we want to give you a basic understanding of social media ads, especially for beginner or intermediate levels. Will this information be helpful to you if you're advanced? Yeah, you're probably still going to learn a couple of things, but this isn't really geared just towards advanced, okay? So if you're beginner or pre-beginner or even intermediate, I would say enjoy this. I think you'll probably get some good takeaways here. So 15 actionable, practical steps to help you with social media ads, if you decide that's for you. And we think that your odds of success will really skyrocket when you follow best practices, right? I mean, wisdom, it's a good thing. You want to have as much as you can and be armed with that, be armed with information, especially if you're going to go into something like this, where there is, where you're investing, right? You don't want to be going in blind with no education at all. Just that's not smart. So a couple definitions to start us off. What are social media ads? Now, in this amazing joking little graphic I put together on the right here, I just grabbed some that happened to be in my Facebook feed. Apparently, these advertisers in Facebook thought these were relevant to me. Fidelity Investments, Nintendo Switch, but you guys have seen these. I probably don't need to explain Facebook ads. There are a couple of things here. There's ads and then there's organic posts. I'm just going to differentiate them really quickly. Okay. So right here we see an organic post. All right. This is just someone posting their business name or organization is called Intrepid Travel. And this is just an organic post. They didn't spend any money on this that we know of. They just thought, oh, this would be really helpful content for our audience. Let's put this out there, okay? And they got some engagement. That's great. So this is an organic post. It's unpaid interaction on social media, including status updates, as a business or organization. Status updates, responding to comments, sharing links and images, and video. Those are organic posts. Organic meaning not paid, no money involved. Versus social media ads or paid posts, right? So these are, here's another one, but this one says sponsored. What did that last one say? Nothing. It just gave you the time and date stamp. This one is just sponsored, has a call to action here. This is an ad and it blends right in. Facebook that's very, very intentional, as you would imagine. So social media ads are paid social media advertising, including boosting and promoting organic posts. So it's not just creating an ad. I mean, that's a lot of what it is. But there's also just posting and then boosting it, which you can do on Facebook. You can do that on Instagram. And mind you, I know today unfortunately we don't have time to get into like every single social media platform, especially with all the, there's all this political stuff going on now. And I talk to clients frequently recently. They're like, should we look into other alternative platforms, and that kind of thing. And it's like, well, if you want, and are there advertising opportunities on those? Well, we obviously don't have all the time in the world to do this. So we're mostly going to be focusing on Facebook ads and Instagram ads, which are owned by the same company. We're also going to be probably talking a little bit about not necessarily Google ads, because that wouldn't fall under the umbrella of social media ads, but Google owns YouTube. I'm also trained and certified with that. So I'll probably be bringing in a little splash of that as well, but this isn't specifically geared towards YouTube or Google or other platforms. It's mostly going to be Facebook and Instagram, just so you're aware, okay? But let's dive into this. We're going to share 15 actionable steps. So 15, you could make a checklist out of this if you've started from zero. I like to think of this as kind of like a roadmap, where it's like, okay, if you played a game like Life or Candyland or any of those kind of games, let's just say, hey, you have 15 of these tiles that you need to move your organization through, right? And some of you you're already halfway through. Great. Sit back, relax, and you can just kind of coast on those ones, but then you're probably going to get into some, if you're here, where you're like, ooh, we haven't done that. Okay. And so those you might want to pay attention to. You could treat this like a roadmap. You could treat this like a checklist, or just take whatever nuggets of information you want to from this. But these are things, as I was telling Linda earlier, you can get official Facebook training, and I'll tell you how at the end. But there's also this kind of street smarts side of it, where if you're really going to be an expert in this, or at least good enough to be dangerous or whatever, know enough to be dangerous, you're going to want to you're going to have to learn some stuff on the job. Okay, you can't just open the textbook and say, this is what we do, and plug it in, and there's a magic wand, and now all of a sudden you're rich or something like that. That's not really how it works. But these are going to be 15 things that we've learned over time. Some of them will absolutely fall into the Facebook official training. Some of them are things that we just learned that the hard way. And if it's something that's challenging, something that wasn't a good experience, we hope that you can learn from that. If it's something that's a good experience, hey, maybe that will inspire you to do something similar, right? So let's kick it off with the first one. And don't worry, they're not all this text heavy. I threw, like I said, lots of memes in here to try to liven this up a little bit. But number one, make sure you first of all consider whether or not you should even be on Facebook ads in the first place. Why would we include that? Well, because a lot of people, from what I've seen, well, I should say what we've seen as a team, a lot of people want to dip their toe in that water, and understandably so. Because the whole world's on Facebook, well, maybe sort of. But does that mean that you and your organization should be advertising there? We don't think so. We're not saying that you should not. We're just saying that it's probably not for everybody. Okay. I wrote an article on this, and if you want to read that, drop a comment or something like that, and I can email that over, or Linda can email it over. But in short, social media ads are not a good fit for everyone. If that was the case, everyone would be doing it. Okay. So if your company or your product is new, if you're setting out to build awareness and audience for your brand, social media ads can be an excellent place to start. Okay. There are other reasons too why it can be a great place for you or your business or your organization, but just not always. Okay. So your ads can be targeted to in the pros column, your ads can be targeted to a specific relevant audience. Your post can appear to users as they're scrolling through their feed. Hey, that's amazing, right? Absolutely it is. But you don't want to be this guy who's just throwing cash at the campaign and just saying, hey, you don't want to be this guy. You want to have a budget. You want to have a plan. You want to make sure this makes sense for you first. Okay. So social media ads are like planting and watering seeds that hopefully eventually grow into conversions. It's usually not sell. Okay. And that's a mindset that I run into with a lot of businesses that come in and say, hey, we want to be on Facebook ads. We want to sell this couch or this thing. Great. But we don't want to just put up ads, sell. It won't work out 9 times out of 10 or more. Okay. So one disadvantage of posting ads on social media is that some brands are unrelated to this context. So some of the companies that we work with, they sell little widgets, they sell literal boxes and things like that, where I'm talking cardboard boxes. It might not be the best place to put wholesale priced cardboard boxes. If you're going to put ads up somewhere, this might not be the right context. People probably aren't scrolling through Facebook hoping they see an ad for cardboard boxes. I apologize if anybody here sells cardboard boxes. But in some cases, hey, if you sell shoes, if you sell clothes, certain things absolutely fit into that conversation really well and don't seem awkward at all. You're going to come across these things, and I'm sure you already do if you're a Facebook user, where you're like, why am I seeing this? So you don't want to be in that boat, right? Like, you don't want your business to, and hey, maybe this one was really relevant to this user in this screenshot, but you don't want to be showing something that's really off to a weird audience. It's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like cold calling, people that are way out of your target audience, and you're just paying money to do it. Okay. Don't want to do that. One other reason before I get to the second recommendation is to think about other platforms in addition to social media would be this. If you already have, the majority of your users love to search on Google for your product or your service or your brand. If you're not already on Google, that could be something to consider, or Bing, or et cetera. But that could be something to consider. Social media shines when people aren't searching for you. I've never heard of Bingo by M Fortune, and I never will search Google for Bingo by M Fortune. But if I love bingo games and I have 3 bingo apps on my phone, and Facebook knows that, and this advertiser targets people who have similar apps or something along those lines, hey, this all of a sudden makes sense, right? They couldn't do that on Google, okay? You can do it on YouTube, by the way. You can do similar stuff on YouTube, but not necessarily, people aren't going to search Google for that, okay? I'm going to try to be careful with my language here, and by that I mean not to mix up terms, or when I say Google, I mean Google search ads. I don't mean Google YouTube ads, okay? There's also the display network and all sorts of other like children and things that they have their hands in. So, okay, number 2, we really recommend that on top of that, even, okay, let's say you decide, hey, Facebook ads, Zach, we did number 1. We checked that off the list. We're pretty sure that this is for us. Great, okay. Now, you really want to do your homework, okay? And by that, I mean, think through, I want you to think of this kind of like your business model, okay? I don't know how many of you have businesses that are succeeding, but of the ones that aren't succeeding, I wonder, like, did you have a successful business model at least? And I would say the same thing is true for these social media ads, okay? If you go in completely blind, you have no plan whatsoever, and you're like, I think I'm just gonna try it out, no plan. You can do that, absolutely. But from my experience, when I've seen businesses and organizations do that, those are the ones that are oftentimes not successful, okay? So it's good if you can do some math, or have someone do some math with you or for you, preferably with you and not for you, because you want to be involved. I've also seen businesses where they're like, I just want to make money on it. I don't want to touch it or see it. This might not be a good fit for you then. That's kind of like saying, I want my business in the shopping mall, but I hate shopping malls, so I'm never going to go in that shopping mall. But please tell me if it does well. It better do well. You better do it well. It's like, what, really? You can't really treat it like an investment like that. Okay, we haven't seen that work out well ever. Okay, but I want you to think of it like this. Break down the math, and I've heard it recently said that marketing is like the math behind making getting your brand or your product or your service known. It's the math behind making it work, right? So can you do that? Like, can you actually break this down, where you're breaking down how much money per click you want to spend? How much, do you have a landing page set up that converts a certain percentage of its visitors? Let's say it's 10%, or let's say it's 2%, whatever it is. Do you know the conversion rate? Do you know your average order value amount? Do you know your customer's lifetime value? Like, these are things that if you're not doing any of that stuff, you're like, I just don't want to do that stuff. This is I almost want to use the word dangerous. This is kind of a dangerous area for you to be testing out, okay? You want to be able to answer those kind of questions. You want to be able to say, well, a customer is worth this much money to us. Or a lead, if you're B2B, a lead is worth this much money to us. You want to figure out a target cost per acquisition. Okay, you want to figure out what your customers are worth to you, and I mean monetarily, like how much money are they worth to you? And obviously you don't want to share that information with a lot of people. That's weird, but you should know as a business owner or marketing manager, okay? And make sure that you do your homework and make sure that this is worth your investment. At least your projections should make sense, okay? So this is you doing that, I suppose. Do you have a 6-month marketing plan? You know, has any planning gone into this? And this is more like if you're doing this all yourself. Now, if you're working with an agency, you know, I would think you know you're work hand in hand very closely on that. But you know, and another type of homework that you ought to be doing is checking out what are your competitors doing. Like if you sell mattresses, what are the people that you're going to be competing with? Very literally, you're competing with them, and the more competition you have, the more your ads are going to cost you. I don't know if you know that or not, but what are they doing? What kind of ads are they running? You can use something called, jot this down, Facebook ad library. Okay, you can use the Facebook ad library to check that. You can look up any business or organization in the ad library, and if they have anything in there, you can see what it is. But you can't necessarily see whether their ads worked or not. So we have one gal on our team. She's a total pro when it comes to social media ads. That's all she does. But she likes the ad library, but she dislikes it at the same time because well, it can really inspire our clients to say, "Ooh, this is so good. We want to do something just like this." And she says, "But we don't know if that was successful or not. So are you sure you want to mimic something like that?" Probably not, but you can at least hopefully see where the bar has been set in terms of like, are they running graphic ads or video ads? How good are they? Are we talking about a $500 video or a $5,000 video? What are we talking here? It's good to get that kind of information, right? And by the way, with the ad library bit, you know, if you don't see your direct competitors in there, or if they're just really unimpressive, not to sound, you know, rude or anything like that, but if they're just like, you know, their stuff's just not anything that great, you can kind of zoom out, take a step back and look at just other people in the industry in general. I was going to give it an example, but I don't want to get too specific because I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but that's something that you can do. Let's say if you're a hardware store, for example, and you say, well, the other hardware stores just aren't doing anything that we've seen in the ad library. Well, maybe you can zoom out a little bit and check, well, what is Home Depot doing, or what is Lowe's, you know, some of the bigger stores or other stores that people are shopping at, that people that you share, businesses that you share customers with, if that makes sense. So, okay, like I said, I dropped a few memes in here just to keep it fun and lighthearted. This is Kermit the Frog. You're running Facebook ads without calculating your customer acquisition cost, but that's none of my business. Pretty funny. And by the way, I can almost hear some of you saying like, well, how do I know what my customer acquisition cost is? I'm not going to break down a math equation here and now, but that is something that you could easily look up. Just search Google for customer acquisition cost, or you can search for target cost per acquisition, and you will actually get formulas and you'll be able to figure this information out. Why does this matter? The reason why that matters is if you know that getting someone on your email list is worth, every person that you get on your email list, let's say you've crunched those numbers and you've realized, hey, anybody on our mailing list, that's worth at least an average of $3 to our business, as it turns out. You crunch some numbers, you figure that out. Well, now you know that if you set up a landing page, you set up an ad, or you just set up an ad, I'll get into it later, but a certain type of ad that doesn't require a landing page, you can know that you are succeeding if you have ads that are generating leads at anything less than $3 per acquisition. Okay, we have some folks that are saying, hey, here's our landing page, here's the ad we need. As long as these people are converting, joining our email list at less than $2.50 per person, we're good. Just keep running the ads. Just keep them coming in. Okay. If you can do that kind of math, you can kind of sleep easier at night, right? And not have to panic and go, are these ads doing anything? You know, make sure you have a good plan like this. probably spending too much money on this bullet point, but it's a big deal. And skipping this step is a no-no. All right. Some questions to ask yourself along these lines would be, what generates revenue for my business? What's my budget? We have an agency right next door to us that they will not do business with someone if they don't have a budget lined up. So make sure it's that important. Make sure you have a budget. What does success look like to you? Okay. How big is your email list? I'd almost add, like, are you monetizing it? Can you monetize it? Do you want to? What are you promoting or selling? What are dates and deadlines? Do you need promotional codes? What kind of links do you have to have together? Like, are you gonna have a landing page or 20 landing pages or no landing page? Or do you even know what that is? Who's gonna write the ads? Okay, someone has to write the text that goes with those ads. Who's gonna create the graphics or video to go with those ads, right? If you're B2B, do you want to go for lots of leads, or do you want to go for just really, really big fish? Okay, like we've quick example on that one, and we work with a company in San Jose, and he said, hey, our projects are worth to us, a typical project, they're B2B, typical project is $50,000. So as long as we get at least like one client every month or two to run those ads, and they can spend thousands on ads, and it makes sense. There's a good return on investment there, right? Okay. But if you're selling something with very little profit margin, all of a sudden it looks totally different, right? I'm going to give you a couple ideal setups that we've seen in real life. Names have been omitted to protect the innocent. And these are just slightly rounded, but not much. So ideal setups, client one pays to run an ad for free webinars. They collect 1,000 emails at the rate of roughly $1 each. Hey, not bad. Okay. I mean, assuming that one of your goals, hopefully, was building your email list, you should know that ahead of time before you start diving in. What are your goals? What are your objectives? But assuming that you're okay with building up your list and you plan to monetize that, hey, $1 each, that's not terrible. Okay. We've seen better, but we've seen a heck of a lot worse than that. Okay. Another one, client pays $1,500 in ad spend to point people to an e-course landing page, resulting in $8,500 of e-course sales for the month. Not bad. Hey, I don't want to say that's a net of 7,000 because that doesn't add in, some of the other costs, the employees and the cost of creating the e-course and the agency fee. And, so there's some other fees, but hey, even if that's a net of several $1,000s, hey, that's a pretty good month, right? This is the kind of stuff, these are the kind of scenarios when we see these, it makes other people go, why am I not doing this? Because you can be successful with it, but there are a lot of little hurdles and a lot of little things to avoid. And there is a high learning curve. Absolutely. This isn't just for everybody, and it's not easy. Okay. Despite what, I'm sure ads are probably trying to make it look like it's very easy, or Facebook might try to tell you it's not easy. Okay. Or else everybody would be doing it. Ideal setup number 3, was a client who promoted a free mini e-course to a highly engaged audience. It did so well that thousands of people took the e-course, prompting them to take the then full paid e-course afterwards. Re-engagement ads were run, and people who watched it was a video ad, a series of video ads. People who watched at least 15 seconds of it, we said they're at least pretty engaged. Retargeting them, retargeting people who signed up. And honestly, that one, we were seeing like 6-figure kind of months. So mega return. Very ideal. Very, very good setups. Okay. And I'm going to show you 3 quick, not so ideal setups. Okay. Because we've seen it all. It's not all good. It's not all bad. We've seen a good mix. All right. Hopefully you guys can learn from some of this. Client number 1 runs traffic ads, and they get an average of 25 cents a click. Not bad. but they're not able to convert on the landing page. The landing page was not strong. You can almost hear somebody saying, what is a landing page? A landing page meaning the page that people go to after they click the ad. If it's an ad that takes them to somewhere on, on your website or a landing page. Nowadays, some landing pages are on MailChimp or Unbounce or things like that. And I'm not going to give an official stance on that, but in this particular situation, the landing page just wasn't converting people. So although those clicks were at a great rate, in our opinion, comparatively speaking, unfortunately, they weren't able to convert on the landing page. So paid for a bunch of traffic for nothing. Okay. Hopefully you got some good exposure out of that. But okay, not so ideal setup number 2. Client pays over $30 a click. Yeah, you read that right. One click, there goes $30 on an overly competitive ad that is going to a really nice landing page, but that page just isn't converting enough to show positive return on investment. ROI is return on investment. You probably know that. You should know that. Client number 3, pay for thousands of dollars for ads for a public speaking event that they want to promote on the other side of the country, hoping people will show up and maybe become clients, and maybe there's going to be some positive ROI in there somewhere, right? Maybe. It's just not enough planning, not enough. There's no math involved there. That's kind of hoping on chance, throwing a prayer out there maybe. And that's really not using practical wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom available in this area that's using very little of it. That just wasn't a good setup. So use one of these before you go using this and seeing those come in, okay? Number 3, count the costs, have a budget. So what kind of costs are you prepared for with this? Okay, I can tell you what we see, in case that's helpful to you. Now, recently, I was getting another Google certification, and they said, I had a hard time with this one because I don't think it's realistic, but they said, our ads are for any size business and any size budget. And I'm like, my experience tells me otherwise. And I don't want to, I love a lot of certain things about Google and Google ads, but I didn't love that statement. I disagree with that. I've never talked to, in our experience as a team and in any other agency I've ever talked to, nobody has ever seen anything good come out of someone spending less than $500 a month in ad spend. I hate to say that because I feel like some of you here are probably like, really? I didn't want to spend more than like $100 or $200, or you might not know, but $500 a month or more just in ad spend, no agency fees or anything, just in ad spend is a typical minimum, like kind of entry level, like, hey, let's give this a shot. We always recommend at least $500 a month in ad spend. And if you're working with an agency, if you're working with someone who is, giving you these services, like helping you create the ads, put together a strategy, choosing the ads objectives and types after you figured out the goal, monitoring it, optimizing it, reporting on it, analyzing it, constantly improving and, communicating and managing all that stuff, there's a fee for that. Okay, what's the fee? Well, I would say expect a minimum of 500 or 1,000 a month, maybe more. Okay, if you're going to work with an agency in that capacity, could be more. We've seen more. Okay, it just depends on how much is being managed, how much is going on, because it's not like a one size fits all kind of a thing. Okay, but these are the kind of costs that most people see. Now, like I said, Google ads, and I got a YouTube certification recently for YouTube ads, and they said any size budget, any size business, according to them, they would disagree, but this is what we've seen. And I can almost hear you saying, like, why is that? Why do I have to spend so much money? Here's the answer. If, let's say, just a really quick example, you wanted to find out some information, and you said, I'm going to create a poll. I'm going to poll some people and find out what the best route is on these 3 options. Maybe you have 3 business ideas. I'm going to choose my target audience. I'm going to get really detailed with the demographic, and I'm going to create a poll. And then you poll 5 people. Is that really enough of a sample size of data? No, it's not. More like 500 or 5,000, right? You're going to want a lot more feedback than just 5 people. Well, those 5 people, they could be on the same street, same city, same country, etc. And they're going to have really similar opinions. But if you start pulling people from all over the place, obviously that would be a much better situation. Well, same applies here, because in the ad world, best case scenario, if you're working with an expert, if you're really going to do this the right way, the best you can do is figure out your goals, figure out your objectives, figure out the best way to go about it. That, like, what are my options? Okay, this is my goal. These are my objectives. Best case scenario, this is also good. You get some goals going. What options are available to me? You're going to pick those the best you can with the best available tools. But then getting back to your budget, if you only have $100 to do that, you're going to blow through that money so quickly. Just see this meme that I randomly threw in there yesterday. This is very common. If you put $100 in there, whoop, and it's gone. Okay, it can go so quickly. All right, and that was not enough of a sample size of data for you to really learn the lessons you need to learn to optimize, then scale your ads. Okay, that's why. So, quick problematic example on that. A client has e-courses coming out, but they don't know the cost of them, what he expects to sell them for, what his cost of acquisition is. He's flying blind. An ideal setup example, yes, we've seen all these. These are real world situations. A client does a Facebook Live once a week. They're constantly posting videos. They're constantly, maybe they have someone helping them. We've seen these situations. They're constantly engaging their audiences, and then they're doing calculated, best efforts. Okay, enough on that. If you have any questions, you can start to throw them in the chat. I'll have to pause to breathe and take a drink here pretty soon, maybe after the next one, but I don't want to take too long or dilly-dally on these, since we have 15 of these in total to go through. So you've done these first few. Remember the Candyland example, or Life, or whatever, the board game. You've done these first few already. You're like, Zach, we're past it. What do we do? Next step would be make sure you're set up properly. Okay, you've budgeted, you planned, you know that you really want to do this. It makes sense for your business, at least as far as you can tell before you really do it. It's logical and everything. You've done the math. So in order to begin, you're going to need to take some steps and or have an agency help you with some stuff. Okay, I'm going to breeze through those things. You can find these things online, or you can always shoot an email or drop a question in the chat box. But you're going to need a Facebook profile, a regular old Facebook profile. Yes, we've worked with people who said, I hate Facebook. I don't want a profile. I just want you to get my business on there. That doesn't work out well. I'm not going to get too granular with you on that, but it doesn't go well. And if you have questions, let me know. You want to have a business page and you want to be active on it. Okay, so these are already like 2 kind of big things. And if these are, I would say, as an agency owner, there's some red flags if you're highly opposed to these. Okay, that's just not going to work. After that, you're going to need to set up Facebook Business Manager. Not a big deal. Yes, it's right through Facebook. No, it won't cost you money unless you have someone do that for you. This essentially acts as a hub for you to manage your Facebook tools that you use. You can have multiple accounts and pages in there. Like for me, I have different clients and stuff in there. Your role-based user accounts, some you might have permission to just do reporting or just do the posting or whatever. You can track ad performance across your accounts, things like that. After Business Manager, you want to set up Ads Manager or have an agency do that for you. And yes, when you're going to start to get a little bit more granular as you set up the ads, you want to choose a marketing objective, whether it's awareness of something or consideration or conversion. You want to, you can start to create custom audiences. I wouldn't just, we ran an ad recently and just let Instagram choose. It just said, okay, Instagram, one of the options was just let Instagram choose what they think a good audience would be. crickets chirping. That ad did not do well. Okay, I wouldn't do that. You want to be really methodical in coming up with a custom audience. More on that soon. Okay, afterwards, set up your ads, design your ads, or have them designed for you. So yes, you're going to need to have a credit card and a phone number and a business address. I know it's one of those things that jumping into this world, you would think no business would have a problem with that. But we've seen businesses like, hey, I don't want to give my credit card to Facebook. It's like, really? How are you going to do this? So anyways, if you're connecting with email marketing, by the way, because a lot of times ads, long story short, we'll end up having a goal of getting people on a mailing list. That's a handshake. That's kind of a developer nerd moment there for you. But if you're trying to connect ads to a mailing list, yes, you'll obviously need an email service provider account and giving access to anybody who's going to need that. What's an email service provider account? By that, I mean, you would need Constant Contact or MailChimp, or there's a number of other ones. If you want to have a mailing list and you don't yet, you're going to need to get that going as well. And I think last would be, got ahead of myself with that meme there. Facebook Pixel, you're going to need that as well. And I know that's probably a strange term, but that is essentially a little bit of code that you need to add to your website that lets you track and measure visitors to your site so that you can optimize and build audiences for your campaigns. And I thought this meme, sorry for the low quality, but I thought this was so funny. I will find you and I will show you a highly specific Facebook ad. Yeah, so you can be like this guy and you can start to, you can really, really get more specific, and you can say, hey, people who have visited our website based on our ads, we want to target those people. Now, it's not going to show you a list of their names like, hey, here's Susie Smith, age 36, et cetera. No, it's not like that. But yes, you can choose an audience that Facebook will say, okay, do you want to target people that have been to your website? If, that kind of thing. Okay. Number 5, follow best practices when choosing your audience. Okay, I told you that we were going to get to that, and now we are. So, like I said, you don't want to just not target anybody. You don't want to just target the whole planet, right? I mean, so in other words, quick example, I'm driving down the street, I'm on I-5, and I see a billboard for something for babies or senior citizens. And that's not at all applicable to me. In fact, I don't like it. I'm going to look away. That money may have been wasted on the reach, the impression. Sorry, those are ad terms, but the fact that I saw that, I'm not going to act on it. I don't even like it. That's not the way you want to spend money. And in fact, this is part of why digital ads are working so well, because you can get really specific with your audiences. So you don't want to be like that, showing the wrong ads to the wrong people. What you do want to do is follow best practices. Okay, so like, what are my options? You have a lot of options, but here are a couple specific things to note. Okay, you don't want to show your ads to audiences that are likely not to convert, because you don't want to waste your ad budget, right? Okay, you can do a couple things. These are a couple recommendations that we have. You can target shoppers where they're at in their life cycle. So existing customers that you have, they want relevant offers. Okay, so you could remarket to them, demonstrate. You can remarket to those who are demonstrating purchasing intent. Intent is a word that I would highlight if we were here in person and I was doing this on a piece of paper or something. You want to think about intent. Give your highest lifetime value customers something engaging. This is a good idea right here. In fact, if you have taken any Google certification training, you would know that Google would tell you these are the very best things that you can do when targeting an audience. Okay, they would say upload your first party data. In other words, upload, if you have an email list, upload it. If you have a some other kind of list, that you can get that in there and target it appropriately. Okay. Another thing that you can do, which we've seen a lot of good things come from, Facebook has this, and then Google has something very similar. Facebook is called lookalike, and Google, what's it called? It's something very similar, but it's a lookalike to the lookalike. So Facebook's lookalike audience basically means you upload that list, right? Kind of like in our first recommendation here for audiences. And but instead of targeting them, you can have Facebook create a lookalike audience. Like I said, you can have Google do the same thing. And this is really, really good stuff. It's essentially going to look at and break down what are the common characteristics in this audience and what can we duplicate? And then you can target that lookalike audience. And you can do a lookalike off of that one if that one's successful, et cetera. So you're not just targeting the same 100 or 1,000 or 100,000, whatever, people over and over and over again. You don't want them to get fatigued and tired of your stuff, right? That's no good.
Zach?
Yes.
I just wanted to check with you. People are asking, there's so much information here. We are recording the webinar and it will be shared. Emily will send a link to it in a few days. I had someone ask if you're going to share your slides.
Yes, I can definitely share the slides.
Great, thank you.
No problem at all. Yep. And then let's open it up for a few questions after we get through this number 5 here, and I'll take a breath and a drink. And if there are any other questions, we can take them, at least a couple of them, and then we'll keep going. A couple other recommendations in the world of audiences. So avoid overlapping audiences. Yes, your ads can compete against each other. And like I said, yes, when you are competing with lots of other ads, those can get really pricey. So be careful about that. Target shoppers who are likely to convert. So just be as thoughtful as you can when selecting the different parts of your audience. Just match as much as you possibly can with the different things like gender and age and education level and the affinities and custom affinities and things like that you can. Take advantage of that stuff. Or if you're working with an agency, make sure that they do. Have them explain that to you, just so you're not just targeting the wrong group, because you're not going to see a lot of success that way, probably. Okay. Exclude customers from acquisition campaigns. What's an acquisition campaign? A campaign where you're trying to acquire new customers. Why would you show an ad like that to your existing customers? It doesn't make sense. Don't do that. Okay. Never stop testing and iterating. Okay. Hopefully each month with your hopefully at least minimum $500 budget, but whatever you can do, you do whatever you want. Hopefully you're realizing things, you're discovering things. You're kind of like a scientist here. You have your hypothesis. Okay. And Facebook will tell you the same thing. And if you take their official training, that you have your hypothesis, you have this is our best situation, our best case scenario, this is what we're aiming for, and then you go for it. You lay out your goals and your objectives, you go for it, but you're going to learn some lessons. So keep track of those. You don't want to forget what you've learned. Keep track of them somewhere. And if you can, test, and not only test, but scale and optimize, not in that order, optimize and scale your campaigns, replacing the lowest performing combinations with the highest. The combinations of what? Your audience, your ad types, your ad placement, things like that, okay? So before we get into number 6, I know you're sitting in front of a fire hose today. I'm sorry, this is so much information. I probably should have split this into 2 trainings, but we can definitely pause, take a couple of questions. I'm gonna breathe, I'm gonna take a drink. Do we have any questions in the queue right now, Linda?
We've already addressed the ones that are in the chat, but you are welcome to turn your microphone on and ask a question, and getting some interaction in these webinars is always nice.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Great, thanks for chiming in.
I'm curious about, how it's like, is there an equation to know if for one specific demographic is a graphic ad best? Is a video ad best?
That's a great question. Am I cutting you off?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So, did you say I am cutting you off, or?
Oh no, I just meant go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure. So, yes. So we're gonna actually get into the differences between graphic ads and video ads. Spoiler alert, in answer to your question, there are a couple specific studies have shown that there are a couple specific, what's the word I'm looking for? Facts or figures about how video ads do tend to perform better than graphic ads. And I will give you those specifics, I think like 7 or 8 slides from now. So very, very good question. It's tough because you have to plan for positive return on investment. Okay. And video can be very expensive, but I'm going to share some inexpensive ways to do video as well. But this is different for every business. Some businesses are going to say, I can't afford video. And so they might go about it in one way or another way, and they can get around that. Or maybe they don't need it and they can somehow get positive ROI just using graphic ads. And that's fantastic if they can do that.
I have one more question.
Yep.
Well, I'm a videographer, so I'm good in that way.
Awesome.
Thanks. So the other question I have is there a way for a specific demographic to understand, is the landing page the best thing to connect you to? Is the email list?
Yeah, so excellent question. And again, that is going to be talked about in a few slides from now.
Okay.
Very, very, very good question. In short, in a sentence for now, there's not a one size fits all answer. And we've seen, just kind of spoiler alert again, because I'm going to get into this more, but we've seen some situations where having a landing page, the campaign would not be successful without a landing page. We've also seen in the last couple of years situations where not having a landing page has shockingly, black swan stuff here, outperformed the landing page. But we will get into that more in a few slides.
I have a question as well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for chiming in. I love that you guys are being brave. And
I've heard that on Facebook, a lot of times business managers, and maybe I'm getting confused, I'm a newbie. I've heard that business managers can shut down, or they can shut you down, and that you should open multiple business managers under different Facebook pages to prevent that from happening. Because if you get shut down, it takes a long time to get started back up. Does that make sense to you? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, unfortunately.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there is some truth to that.
Okay.
But like our last gal that was asking you a couple questions there, we actually have a whole one of these number recommendations is kind of gearing up for that. So yeah, so I'll be kind of getting ahead of myself if I get too far into it, but in a sentence, yes, that is a not so fun reality of the Facebook ads world, that you can face some hurdles that you never thought you would face and get shut down and end up in quote unquote Facebook jail and not so fun stuff like that. That is real. Yeah.
Okay. And then as a follow-up to that, does this presentation, like affiliate marketing, does that fit into this presentation at all? Or is this more like either working for an ad agency or having a client actually come to you and having your business on the side and marketing for them on social media? Or do they all three of those options kind of work together?
Yeah, so there's not any mention of affiliate marketing in this specific presentation, but that's not like it's a million miles away from this category.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my hopes, I'd say our hopes, are that this presentation would be helpful, whether probably more specifically if you're a business owner or marketing manager or director that is looking to, or maybe both, looking to bring your business onto social media ads and kind of dip your toe in that water. Or maybe you've done that, things may or may not have been as good as you thought, and what am I missing? Why isn't this working out? Maybe I need to kind of take a step back and learn a few things before trying this again. That I think those would be, that's kind of who we had in mind. But yes, if you are working at another agency, then I would think this would be good information for you as well. even if you're helping other clients through these kinds of things.
Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, one more if there is any more for now, just so we can keep moving.
I think that's it.
Okay, sounds good. So thanks for your patience, guys. So number 6, create brand messaging that resonates. So something that is often overlooked, and I know, if you're a pro, you're going to be like, really, snooze fest, or but if you're just starting out, you don't realize that these ads don't write themselves. Okay, so you want to stay consistent with tone and appearance. You want to make sure it blends in with your company's messaging, not in a way that it's ads you want to stand out, of course, but you don't want it to look so different from the rest of your stuff. So if you're working with someone new on this, or if you're working with an ad agency, you probably, let's say you have a funeral business, you probably don't want them throwing in smiley faces, hearts, and exclamation points, right? I've seen this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you've laid that kind of thing out. Okay, so if you can, try to have some kind of brand guide. Okay, whether especially if you're working with somebody else here, if you can, try to get some templates or something going where you have a consistent look and feel. Unfortunately, I've seen so many businesses and organizations not have any consistency at all to what they're posting. So there's really no branding, and it really looks kind of like homemade and just like lacks a professional touch. So those are just a couple things to avoid. Random meme here. One does not simply settle for bad ad copy. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be putting hundreds or thousands of dollars out there on ads, you probably want to follow best practices, right? Like, what are they? Go for those. So a couple of Facebook recommendations. I laughed when I saw this slide yesterday, because I was like, oh, there's so much text here. And the first bullet point says shorten text. So anyways, shorter text is good on Facebook and Instagram ads. In a study conducted, it took 2 to 3 seconds for 2 out of 3 people to see and cognitively recognize desktop ads compared to 0.4 seconds on mobile. So keep your text short, clear, and concise. You don't want to have an ad that's, and whenever I see those ads, I don't know if you guys ever see them, but they're like paragraphs and paragraphs. I couldn't look away faster. No, thank you for me. Use calls to action. I can almost hear someone saying like, whoa, what's a call to action? So in other words, if you're on a website, a call to action would be click here, or shop now, or buy, or, it's kind of like the button text. Well, people can use those on social media ads as well, of course. And to the point where, Facebook and Instagram will add a little bottom bar to your ads. Use those. Okay, those are going to help you. They draw attention. They encourage people to engage with your ad. You don't want to be like, I'm too sheepish, I don't want to ask people to do what I want them to do. No, make it very clear what you want them to do. Buy now, learn more, that kind of stuff. And if you can, a step further, not just use those, but use those in accordance with, if your target audience is like highly sophisticated, they're all doctors or lawyers, or you might not want to just do buy now. You might want to do learn more. You might want to be a little bit more selective about your language and the things that you're showing them, right? Just make sure you pay attention to tone and your audience is all. Number 7, consider warming up your audience before going sale to a cold audience. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the situation where someone calls up our agency and says, all right, I want to do a Facebook ad. I want to sell this widget. They don't say widget, of course. I want to sell this widget, and we'll just put a sale out there and just sell as many as you can. And it's like, well, we can do that. Like, I don't know that that's what I would recommend. In fact, that's not what I would recommend based on what we've seen. But I remember reading this a couple of years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago. A statistic came out. According to Google, the biggest reason ads fail is because audiences aren't warmed up enough. Okay. Now, I don't know if that still holds true, but I remember that straight from the horse's mouth, them saying that a few years ago. So what can you do to fight that? And just to help paint a clearer picture, this is kind of like me stepping outside of our office here and walking up to someone on the street and going, hey, and I open up a coat and say, hey, buy one of these gold watches, right? Like, who is this guy? Get out of here. I'm calling the police. Like, that wouldn't look good. Even if I was like a really good watch salesman, like I have the best watches in the world. Why are they doing this to me? Well, you don't want to be that guy on Facebook, right? You want to have a warmed up audience. You can build your audience. You can engage with them. We've had clients, oh, I love this, but it eats up so much time. Create Facebook groups where they're just, they're inviting people to the group. Perhaps they're a thought leader or something along those lines, and people are more than happy to go into that group. That's a great way to build community, to warm people up. And essentially, if you can do some no ask, meaning I'm not asking anything of anybody, but they're throwing quality content out there over and over, and they have an audience that's getting warmer and warmer. You might even sponsor some of those posts. So you do a post, throw some money on it, even if it's 10, 20 bucks, whatever, and get that audience warmed up. You can eventually start to drop a really small ask in there, like, oh, by the way, here's a new white paper, here's a free PDF. Just enter your email and check this out. Or don't even need to say enter your email. There's a spot for them to enter their email to get something. That's a very small ask. You can start to then eventually monetize this if you build what we call a value ladder. Okay, I'll get to what the heck is a value ladder. I'll get to more of that in a minute. Okay. But you don't want to be this guy. You don't want to be Dwight here. Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my sales pitch, so buy it maybe. No, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the random cold calling watch salesman, right? So warm up your audience. You can do things like I mentioned of, actually I didn't mention this, but you could run a like campaign to build up your page. And I did mention this, you can offer incentives such as free PDF downloads, free first chapters of your book, free consultations, free video content, free mini e-courses. And these can be done either through lead form ads or on landing pages. And I believe the one gal was asking about those. She didn't use this term, but I'll speak to those options more very soon. But yeah, giving away that kind of incentive, that's great ways to warm people up and you can just start to monetize if you do that kind of stuff, okay? But yeah, you can do stuff like this. So here's a good example, posting teachable moment videos that contain good nuggets of information, okay? This is great stuff. So I don't know who Jasper's Market is. I should after seeing this so many times now, but they share this, they're getting engagement, and they're not asking anything. They're paying their own money to share this content. Why would they do that? Is that stupid? No, that's brilliant. It's brilliant because they're warming people up. And then maybe next time around they can say, okay, now we're going to target all the people who've engaged with that ad, or if it was a video, all the people who've watched at least 15 seconds or at least 30 seconds of this sponsored post. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start to put gentle asks in front of those guys. Okay, does that make sense? But you, along these lines, just don't want to neglect your organic social media. In other words, your brand's normal posting. I'm not talking about paid stuff, paid ads. I'm talking about your standard business posts. Okay, because we've seen businesses come in and say, I want to start advertising. They don't even have a Facebook business page yet. And I'm like, that's not going to look good. In fact, you're not even allowed to have ads unless you have a business page, okay? But even if you do technically have one, if you don't have any posts on it whatsoever, if someone sees your ad and they click on your business name and you don't have any posts, they're gonna run for the hills. They don't want anything to do with you. They're like, is this even a real business? So think those kind of things through. Plus, it's good for warming up your audience, as mentioned. But yeah, I already kind of said that, so I'm not going to say it again. So yeah, they're likely to check out your organic social media just to see, are you engaging with people? Do you have 5 followers? We recently started doing business with someone who had 1 follower, and it's like, here's a recommendation. Let's start to work on that. Like, can we build that up? Okay. it just looks a lot better, and it falls into the whole social proof concept. You want your business to look like it's a decent business, and you have a following, you have an audience, right? So yeah, don't be afraid to boost your organic social posts if they're just nothing's happening, nobody's liking them, commenting or sharing or anything. Definitely, you're going to probably have to do that. Unfortunately, Facebook is probably going to say, well, you're a business, so we're going to weight your posts down. If you don't already know that, yes, it's real. Yes, they do want you to spend money on your posts, just even your organic posts. So yeah, be prepared for that. But so don't be afraid to do that. And if you can't have a strategy with different types of posts, I mean, I would get too robotic with it, but we've seen brands do really great with like, okay, I'm going to do one Facebook Live a week. We're going to do, 2 graphic ads a week. In fact, some of you might even be on here that are either clients or following a pattern like this, and it just kind of takes some of the thinking out of it. But we've seen that work real well. Okay, create a value ladder. I want to ask Linda, as I take another breath here, has anybody here heard of a value ladder? Do you guys know what that is?
Go ahead and type in the chat if you've heard of it. Not getting a lot of responses. I know what it is.
You do know what it is?
I do.
Oh, yay. Okay, Linda, why don't you share on this one a little bit, unless you prefer me to do that.
Sure. So, and correct me in case I don't get something right, but it's providing layers of offers at different price points.
Bingo.
Starting out free,
Mm-hmm.
and then having something small, maybe in the $9.95 or $7. I shouldn't say $9.95. People might think I mean $995. In the $9 range, $7 to $9 range, and then something a little higher, maybe $129, and then something more than that, like $499, where people come in the door free. They find out you give great value, and then they invest a little more and a little more. And not every person's going to climb up that ladder with you, but some will.
Yeah, boy, I couldn't have really said that better. Thanks, Linda. Absolutely. And we really see a lot of times that some of the most effective social media ads that we do for clients kind of follow something even somewhat like this, where it's like, okay, we're getting them in the door with a freebie, be it a free chapter of, if they're an author or something. We work with several authors. If they're an author, or if they have e-courses or free white papers, PDFs, that kind of stuff, we've seen it all, and or videos even, and giving them those free things to get them on the mailing list. And then the mailing list might have an automation series of emails that basically try to get you a little bit further. And it's not really, I feel kind of like a predator. I don't want to sound weird, but I feel weird saying this, but honestly, you are hopefully providing more value to them, but in layers. It's not just sale, sale, sale. A lot of times we see the most success from getting having a great campaign that got a ton of people on the mailing list, and then it's up to the client, or sometimes we work with the client to then say, okay, how are we going to monetize those people, right? If we have a mailing list now of 30,000 people, we can monetize that thing, for example. Okay. So example value ladder, as mentioned, start with a freebie. Maybe you're selling them something like an e-course. Afterwards, you might get them onto some kind of continuity program. You might offer them a call or a session with the author or creator or something like that. Could do sometimes a free consultation or something along those lines. But that could then close with, hey, there's a $10,000 coaching package that's kind of pitched during this. And it's a weird thing because there's a lot of steps here, right? It's not just a sale, 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 but sometimes these blow away the sale, sale, sale approach. Okay, so just something to consider, all right?
And Zach, something else to mention on that point is the hardest time for someone to purchase from you is the first time they pull out their credit card. So when the first time, if you can have them pull out that credit card the first time for a $9 item, then that's going to be easier for them to buy from you again, because they've already gotten through that, that moment of, should I buy this or should I not? And then give them real value, then they're happier making that next purchase because you've already created that trust with them.
Exactly. So I won't spend more time on this because we already kind of hit it, but thanks for adding that, Linda. Yeah, that makes tons of sense. So yeah, what if I told you email is still very important? It is. We still do lots of email marketing, and that has some of the best return on investment that I've seen in any other, over pretty much any other category almost. So, okay, number 9, we won't spend a lot of time on this one, but get your ads up and running for at least a few months. Okay, any agency would tell you this. Kind of like going back to the ad budget thing, make sure you give your ads a fair chance. Make sure that you're getting enough of a sample size of data to know what's working and what's not working, okay? You want to check which audiences work best, ad types, and then once you start to figure those things out, you can optimize, you can scale it, right? If let's say you're running 5 ads simultaneously and one's just blowing away the other ones, I mean, you could say, okay, let's pause those 4 and put our money on the winner, something along those lines, right? So which area are you targeting? How big are they nationally? Are you targeting internationally? What kind of audiences? What kind of gender, education level, affinity groups, those kind of things. Those things so matter. So yes, if you're doing this right, you're not just going to put something out there, set it and forget it. No, I mean, you can do that if you want, but you're going to see more success if you actually test different things out. Which one worked better, the red one or the green one? Oh, the green one did. Oh my goodness. Okay, so all the ads after this, let's make sure at least for a while that we use green. Don't use red. That's reality. That's what it looks like to be in this world. You want to optimize. You want to scale. Create an ad schedule. You want to fight fatigue. In other words, you don't want people to get so sick of seeing the same ads over and over. I'm sure you guys can think of even TV commercials or YouTube ads. I can think of probably 1 or 2 specific ones where I'm like, really? Why are they showing me that? I'm so tempted to say the company, but I won't say it. But I'm so tired of seeing their ads. You don't want to be that company. You want to keep stuff fresh. Keep rotating ads, optimize even your ad placement. With Facebook, you can choose to, and Instagram, choose to say, okay, am I going to pick exactly where my ad's going to go? Is it just going to go in the feed, or is it just going to go in, or do I want to let Facebook and Instagram pick? Is it just going to be Facebook? Facebook claims that studies show that if you let them choose, they're going to allocate your budget most properly automatically. So that's something that you could test out as well, that kind of stuff. But test out your ideas, okay? That is really the best thing that you can do. And things are going to be different for different businesses and organizations. It's just how it goes. It takes time. It really does. So that's why, doing this over a week or 2, you're probably not going to learn enough, quick enough. Now, at the end of 3, if you do this for 3 months and you're just not seeing a dime come back, then okay, this probably just isn't for your business. Either that, or you need to fire your agency. But yeah, I mean, you should know within a couple of months. 2 or 3 months is a typical time to know, is this working? Like, are we onto something here? Have we learned enough to be profitable in this advertising on social media? Yeah, you don't want to be whoever this guy's talking to and testing ads without running ads without testing creatives, right? You don't want to be saying, well, we'll just throw it out there. No, try different things. Try a video, try a homemade video versus a professional video, or try the red graphic versus the green. Try different things, and see what works best. So real world scenario. Yes, we've seen these, this one specifically. Owner of a clothing company hires an agency to run Facebook ads over 1 month. 1 month. I should have that underlined. The ads promote a big sale. The clothes just don't sell. Okay. Hey, in 1 month, did we get a chance to figure out what was in here? Okay, so we're the agency. Say hires our agency. So hey, do people just not like those clothes? Or was there something wrong with the images that were used? Was it the wrong audience that was being targeted? the click rate was high, so that could be an indicator. Was there not enough incentive for people to convert? So it could have been different things, but hey, if we only did it for 1 month, we don't get to know why. If they pull the plug after 1 month, it's like, shoot, we were on our way to hopefully figuring that out. But so yes, you will want to spend some time. Okay, to answer someone's question, try a nice landing page. So what is a landing page? Again, it's a page that someone clicks your ad and they end up on a landing page. It'll probably sell your service or your product, right? And so do you have to have a landing page? No, but for quite a while, we were fully convinced that you pretty much have to have a landing page if your ads are gonna do anything. And so what is a landing page versus a regular website page? Well, sometimes landing pages are specifically designed to pair up with those ads. They talk specifically to that audience, and they have one function, one goal, one aim to get people through that funnel, to get people to convert to do whatever you want them to do, whether it's signing up for your email list or purchasing your widget or whatever it is, signing up for a free session, whatever it is, okay? The landing page has hopefully beautiful sales copy, might have testimonials on it, things that you can't do in that little tiny ad, okay? So it's kind of like an enlargement of your ad married with kind of like the bottom of your sales funnel. Picture a funnel, okay? You want people to go through it. So the bottom of the funnel, that's this landing page, okay? So the landing page though, so unless you are a web designer, developer, or just, somehow can create a really nice landing page without being one, this will probably cost money if you're going to have someone create this. So you need to weigh the cost of this too. What is typical? What is needed? Do we need this? In some cases, we've seen landing pages make the conversion rate of the ads so good that it would not have worked without the landing page. It just wouldn't have worked, okay? In other instances, we've seen business owners, they can't afford a landing page, or somehow the ad did better without a landing page, okay? Now here's some examples of landing pages. Sometimes they don't even have a top navigation, okay? Boy, there's nothing else they can do here except for go through this funnel. Well, I guess they could go to these social media pages. So if I were designing this, I probably wouldn't have put those in there. I don't want people to get confused or to go another direction. I want them to just do this one thing, okay? So same here, almost anything you do is gonna point them to, there's 2 buttons on this page. Well, there's one up here, here, and here. They all do the same thing. So that's probably a good landing page. Now they have some other links up here too, and some of the people on our team would tell you, no, it's not a bad thing to have other links up there. My personal favorite is when there's no other links. It's just pushing them in through that funnel, because really the only way they can get out of there is hitting the back button in their browser. You just see a higher conversion rate. But sometimes, to argue the other way, they might say, well, we want to give people a chance to click around and make sure, we're actually a decent company. And so, explore our website, and then hopefully they'll end up converting. But so these are nice landing pages. A lot of ads have something like this, and that's something to consider. Now I'm going to get through this next point, and then I'm going to open it up for a couple of questions, because it looks like some are coming in, and also have a chance to take another breath here. But this is an alternative to having these nice landing pages. Okay, you can have a lead form ad. You can do this with Facebook. You can also do it with, if you're running YouTube ads, you can fill out forms on, filling out those kind of forms, like this kind of stuff on mobile devices. People a lot of times don't really want to do that. They'll do it. It's 2021. People are coming around, and it's not that big of a deal. But to make things easier, Facebook and Google, and I'm not sure if others or not, but allow people to simply tap an ad, click an ad, and a little form pops up. I'll show you a couple of examples. It's already pre-populated with your contact info. And so whatever the incentive is it's ready to be sent directly to you. So with one click on the ad, and then one click on that form just to say, okay, or whatever the button says, all of a sudden they get the incentive they wanted. and you, the business or organization owner, gets a qualified lead for your business. That is awesome. So here is what that looks like, okay? So they never go to a landing page with this route. I'm not saying that this is always a winner. I'm just saying that sometimes this actually beats out a landing page amazingly, very surprisingly, because there's really not much copy going on here, right? There's what, two sentences. Someone says, oh, yes, I want this. And now maybe this is a retargeting, or maybe this is somehow, highly targeted. So just showing to a really relevant audience, and someone goes, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I want you to email me. Click. They see this, their name and their email are already in here. Click, they're in. That's it. That's the whole thing. There was no landing page. This essentially is the landing page right here. They never even leave the Facebook app. So you can see why, we're in 2021 now. Sometimes this actually does outperform landing pages. Not every time, but sometimes it does. And then some businesses and organizations just can't afford to build a landing page, or they're not savvy. They don't know how to do it. So they just go this route. And sometimes that actually works out. So consider not using a strong landing page. Again, another thing to test, and instead going with lead form ads or pointing to a product page if you do e-commerce. Some benefits, as I already mentioned, it's faster than getting a landing page together and cheaper. And it puts the information out there right away. It puts your incentive out there right away. You could do a free download or whatever it is. They get it right away, and they get on your list right away. Okay. I'm going to pause. Linda, if we have any questions, I can hit those before we get to our last, I think, 3
We do.
Recommendations. Okay.
Is it possible to find out exactly why the Facebook ad is removed even after following all guidelines?
Yes. So you're going to want to reach out to Facebook for help on that and ask them about that and see, and we'll talk about that a little bit in slide 15. That kind of goes along with our, you can end up in Facebook jail and that kind of stuff. Not real jail, unless you do something. Anyway, not going to go there, but so yes, you can and you should what they call appeal. You can make an appeal to see if you can get through that. Now, sometimes you're going to be successful, and sometimes you're not, whether you're in the right or not, unfortunately. A lot of times ads are, it's not like a human being is looking at every single one of them. So a lot of times they are automatically disapproved by bots that they have. And so they're basically like, okay, nope, we can tell that there's such and such in the ad. We don't permit that. And so we're not going to show that. I saw an example of that online yesterday. I won't get into the specifics of it because it sounds kind of graphic, but Facebook, whatever their automated system is, thought that it was a body part, but it was actually an animal, and so they actually wouldn't show the ad. And so yeah, that kind of thing absolutely happens. We've seen a situation recently where we posted an ad and it showed a website in the ad. And in that website, there was a little tiny button on the website. You go to a website, there are buttons, okay? And so in that screenshot of the website, there was a button, and they said, we're not gonna show that ad because it has a button in it, and we don't wanna confuse people and think that they can click the button in your ad. Like, really? And it was funny because Facebook approved it, Instagram did not, even though they're the same company, owned by the same company.
Zach,
And yes.
The second part of the question is there some kind of tool or anything to help me find out what is the issue with the ad? It sounds like they weren't allowed to use the ad, but they didn't understand why.
Yes. Yeah. So you can click to find out why. I mean, right when you get that message, there should be a link to find out why and to make an appeal.
Okay, that's the question. I know you don't have much time left. I'll let you get back to it.
Okay, thanks. Were there any other questions right now before I keep going?
No, that's it.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so number 12, follow best practices for graphic ads. So someone has asked about graphic ads. you want to follow best practices out there. There are things that you can learn, and I'll point you to where, but you can use the recommended aspect ratio. There are certain, in other words, sizes and orientations that tend to do better than others. Facebook has that information. They have their recommendations. Use high resolution images. We had a client complain once because a graphic was blurry. You can avoid that kind of stuff, especially if someone's on a high res, if they're on their phone or something along those lines, or a MacBook or something, retina display device. Absolutely want to make sure you don't have blurry or low res images. And then there are other things that Facebook is going to tell you, and Google would tell you too. Show off your product or service or brand. People scroll so quickly that you really need to have everything in the frame, very tightly cropped. There are similar best practices like that, avoiding too much text. They used to just straight up not allow you to run ads like that, but now they will, but they'll tell you that they don't as well. Things like that. Focus on your message. Preview your ads. Absolutely make sure that they look good before you post them. Check them on a computer, check them on a phone, make sure it looks the way it should, okay? So yeah, if you're gonna just do a regular graphic ad, this is one I just saw a day or two ago. I'm in the ad business, and so I see ads about ads. So, but make sure it looks nice, make sure it's on brand, things like that. 13, try video instead of graphic posts. Okay, this is going to answer another question, but you've seen these ads where you're going through. There's a t-shirt company that I bought a couple t-shirts from, where you see a video instead of a graphic. So here's a couple stats for you. This is answering someone's question. Social media posts with video have 48% more views. That's a big statistic. Viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it on video, compared to 10% when reading it in text. Okay, that's a big deal. And then Facebook themselves, straight from the horse's mouth, says ads with movement stand out in the news feed. So if you can't afford it, or if you're like our one friend here that asked the question about the videos, and you can do this yourself, great. That is statistically said to perform better. So there are free tools that you can use if you are, if you're on a tight budget and you don't happen to, have a video camera and all this lighting equipment, sound, all that kind of stuff. You can just do some really basic stuff. These are supposed to be some free, decent options. Hyperlapse, Legend, Photoshop Express, Adobe Spark. And so this is more minimal stuff, probably animated GIFs kind of stuff, or Boomerang, those kind of things where there's some animation, but it's not like a full-blown video. Another note on video, pre-produced videos and images, they're oftentimes are not going to work as well on social media unless they are just mind-blowingly good. Okay, now this is our opinion, but so users often prefer authentic video and imagery almost as if it were shot on an iPhone or an Android or whatever you have. And so, we've had situations where we're talking with a client and they say, I can't do video. I don't want to spend, $500 or $1,000 on video. And we're like, that's okay. Can you just hop on the camera and say this, this, and this? And believe it or not, sometimes those videos work really, really well as ads. And there's this authenticity to them. So if you're not camera shy, that is potentially something to test out. Okay. So you don't necessarily need to spend a fortune to have your video ad perform well. We're not saying don't do professional video. We're just saying that might not be an absolute necessity for you to succeed here. So following best practices for video ads. So you're trying video ads. So 14 would be follow best practices. Okay, look up what those best practices are. Yes, Facebook has those available. I'll get to that in a minute. But keep your videos short. If you can make it 15 seconds or less, then you're more likely to have people watch them to the end. We were dealing with that just this morning, believe it or not, before this webinar. One of our clients is in that situation. getting lots of views, but not until they were stopping watching the video before the call to action was mentioned. So yeah, try for those shorter videos. You're doing a 2-minute video in your call to action at the very end. You might not be able to get people to follow it. Additionally, as mentioned here, video ads that are 15 seconds or less are also eligible for Instagram stories and Facebook in-stream placement. You want to try to capture attention quickly, put the most compelling part of your video at the beginning to grab interest. Best practices, make it so, hey, if this information is out there, wisdom is a good thing to have before jumping in, right? So some other video ads best practices, Facebook will tell you use a vertical or square photo to cover the most of the mobile screen area. So most people are scrolling through with their phone vertically. So if they're doing that, you want your ad to be eating up most of the real estate there, not just a little sliver, right? Feature your product or brand early. One route that Facebook and Google recommend going would be to have your logo persistently in the corner, or like, in people's shirts, or, if you're selling Coca-Cola, have a Coke can sitting there the whole time, etc. Design for sound off. Now, Google will tell you otherwise because your average YouTube user has sound on, but Facebook and Instagram, the majority have sound off. So if you're creating videos just for Facebook or Instagram, per Facebook, design for sound off. What does that mean? Use text, use graphics, use captions. Don't assume that they're going to have their sound on. Make sure it still works. If you're doing YouTube, it's the opposite. Don't necessarily feel like you need to eat up tons of real estate with giant captions going throughout the whole video. Okay. Here's a quick example of a video ad. I saw this yesterday. Looked good. It was compelling. Okay, so last recommendation here, and this is going to answer a few other questions, I hope. But we're going to open it up for more questions after this if you have any. Be prepared for the good, the bad, and the ugly. What does that mean? So when you create an ad and post it, you do need to wait for your ads to be approved. Your typical turnaround time is up to 24 hours. Ouch. So yes, if you create an ad and you go to take it live, it's going to say pending approval. Sometimes it takes up to a day for that thing to get approved. And it can be disapproved for multiple reasons. Prohibited content, restricted content, for all sorts of reasons that they think are necessary. We've seen, let's see here. Oh, I already mentioned, the ad that was disapproved, even when we appealed it, couldn't, just to wrap up that story, even when we appealed their disapproval, they came back again and said, no, we really won't show that ad just because there's a button in it and we don't want to confuse users. Okay. But yeah, you can send an appeal to social media channels if you believe there has been a mistake. So there's going to be an option for that when it tells you that your ad hasn't been approved. But you don't want to spend a lot of time in here. Yes, do what you need to do to get out of there. You need to know how to get out of there. I'm not going to get into the details here, but you can look up what to do if you end up in Facebook jail. There are all sorts of rules and guidelines that are easy to break. It's very challenging to try to stay up with them, but they might say, sorry, you don't have a privacy policy in place, or sorry, your ad is not going to reach its full audience because you have too much copy on the ad, or sorry, due to coronavirus, ad reviews are taking longer than usual. Delivery may be delayed. Another one that we've seen a lot of is people putting nasty, disgusting comments in the comment section of these ads. So you have to be prepared for, have thick skin, know how to remove those if needed. We have recommendations on that if you think that's going to happen to you, if it is happening to you. Block offenders from your page. Don't let them do that, and don't let that mess with your ad. Stay on top of that stuff, okay? Or make sure someone's doing that for you, and try to respond to positive comments on your ads if you can. Yes, you're supposed to stay on top of Facebook's terms of service. We had a client, for example, say they wanted to sell CBD oils on Facebook. Well, we got all the way to the point of getting ready to run ads, and Facebook just wouldn't let them do it. They said, sorry, we just won't let CBD companies, at least at that time, run ads. So bummer. That was a lot of prep work, and knowing the terms of service on that specific topic would have been really handy. Know how to get out of Facebook jail. Yes, Facebook can disable your account, which causes you to not be able to run ads. We've seen worse than this too, where people just can't even post. We've seen accounts disabled. As mentioned recently, we've had people say, hey, I'm considering other options. We don't blame you. But we've seen a lot of good things come from Facebook too. So it's like, well, you know, but yeah, you can appeal this with a company. It can take some time. It can take days or longer. Getting out of Facebook jail. Sometimes, you know, we've had people on our own team and clients who've seen be in Facebook jail for a week or two. Okay. So yeah, figuring out other options is sometimes necessary. And to answer someone's question, one workaround would be using someone else's Facebook login. If your account's in Facebook jail, you can use somebody else's Facebook login, things like that. Okay. But yeah, truthfully, last bullet point here, sometimes you or your agency may need to contact Facebook several times to get through an issue, but also prepare for the good, not just the bad, but the good. Okay. So you can use what's called Facebook Blueprint. I think this is our last slide. Use Facebook Blueprint. That's their training area, and it's free to get trained. It's not free to get certified. Okay. But you can pay for certification if you want to, but you can do this training for free. So if you want to get these best practices, I mean, you're going to have to learn some stuff on your own, just trial and error. But hey, if you can get trained up first, that's a good thing. We recommend it. You can use Facebook Blueprint for additional training on Facebook ads. You can also take advantage of what Google has. They have Google Skillshop. That is free training as well. That is really, really good stuff. It's not always 100% up to date, but for the most part, it is good. Okay. And it will help you be more successful in creating and running ads. Okay. And you can always utilize the web. You can utilize YouTube or SBDC for quick and easy answers on commonly asked questions. Why is this happening? Or what do I do with this? Yeah, well, so many people are running ads out there that you actually probably can Google it or YouTube it and find answers, probably a bunch of different answers for the same question pretty quickly. But as Linda mentioned, yes, SBDC is also an option. So, yes.
Oh, is there, someone's asking, is there a professional certification that encompasses all social media training? Sounds like they want your job, Zach.
It can be a good field to be in. And not that I know of, I mean, I'm sure there's college scholarship or not scholarships, college degrees that you can get, but I think by the time you get through those, would they even be current anymore? I don't know. And they would cost, you know, how much college tuition costs. But I can say this, if you wanted to be a professional in this industry, getting these certifications is, I don't want to say, hey, blow off college, but, you know, modern day stuff, like getting the most current stuff, like this is kind of almost as good as it really gets. Okay. These are really good things to have. This and real world experience are kind of like your teachers. Okay. Okay. Wrapping up what we've covered. We've outlined some of the basic things you should understand about social media advertising. Quite a few things. We've covered 15 actionable practical steps to help you on your journey. I hope that was helpful to you. You can feel free to use this as an exhaustive social media advertising checklist. But now it's up to you, you know, if you want to take this and use this as kind of a foundation and start working on your business's brand awareness and engagement or lead gen and that kind of stuff. As mentioned, it's always good to test and see what is appropriate for your business. Okay, so improving your social media ads, even getting going with them can be a lot of work. Yes, it should be well thought out. Take one step at a time. And then if you have any final questions, you can ask them, but you have to hold your arm up like this, and you have to be wearing this kind of blazer. Just joking.
Go ahead and turn your microphones on. We're actually over time, so I love that we still have 24 people with us. But we just have a few minutes to wrap up. You can turn your mic on and ask a question. I don't see any mics going on right now.
Okay, did
Don't
we
have
get through all,
anything in the chat.
were there any questions in the chat, or did we already get through those?
We don't have any. Zach, if you can talk for a minute about people attended and they want to work more with you, or maybe they want to work with someone else in the SBDC, can you let them know how to do that?
Yes, as soon as I can clear this chat box off my screen. There we go. So yeah, I'll answer both of those things. So if you want more information or you have detail-oriented questions that we couldn't get to today, don't hesitate to reach out to us at Barton Interactive. More than happy to answer any questions that you have. You can call that toll-free number or email me directly, zach@bartoninteractive.com. And if you are interested in SBDC services, it's no cost advisory services for any business. So it's not like, hey, we'll do everything for you. But if you want to be advised on things, not a bad price, $0. Tax dollars already paid for it, as Linda mentioned. So that's a good thing too. I feel like I'm stealing Linda's. Linda was probably going to share this information, but
No, you go for it.
okay, thanks. So feel free to reach out to us at the Shasta-Cascade SBDC. You can call us at 530-222-8323 or email Emily at norcalsbdc.org, or you can visit the website sbdcsc.org. That's Shasta-Cascade is the SC. So Shasta-Cascade SBDC serves Shasta and Trinity counties and is located at 5800 Airport Road in Reading. And if you live in the area, or sorry, if you don't live in the area, because sometimes we have people from all over either the state, country, even the world. You know, hopefully if you're in America, you can check out, I don't know if any other countries have something similar, but if you're in America, you can at least use that link to find the local SBDC office near you. Okay.
Zach, I have a couple quick questions I want to squeeze in before we wrap up. And
Sure.
I know you've answered these in other trainings I've done with you, so I'll just sneak them in real quick. Are there websites you recommend for stock images?
Oh, sure. So yes, I would say our go-to would be Unsplash. That's royalty-free, no guilt, no shame. You can see them, you can use them. Now they encourage you to mention the person who uploaded the photo for exposure, but it's not a requirement by any means. That is our favorite in terms of free ones. There's also a couple other ones, Pixaal, however you pronounce that. There's Wikimedia Commons. That one is going to be very not so flashy, but more exhaustive. And so if you look up something really unique, they might have something there for you, but it just might not be some award-winning photographer's contribution. There are some other options out there, but I don't want to share them with you without researching them first. I have a few saved that I need to look up. So.
And Zach, there are some questions about website images. I know you talk about that on other courses that we don't
Sure,
really
no
have the
problem at
time to go into. Is there another training you have coming up that everyone should be aware of?
I do have another training, but it wouldn't cover website images. I'm not afraid to take any questions like that right now, or you can always drop me an email. But there's another training actually next week. Normally they're not so close together, at least with me, but yeah, Megan Spalding and I will be co-leading a training, I think 1 week from today, if I'm not mistaken, and that'll be on cybersecurity. So quite different from this. But yeah, definitely feel free to sign up for that. If you can't find information on that, drop us a line and I'll make sure that you get plugged into that. It's absolutely free. And then, yeah, if there are any other questions, we can take them. If not, that's okay.
Let's see. The other one was, can we use other website images to make an ad?
So if you were to just, it depends on what the website is, but if you were to just go to any old website or Google and just start taking images, that would probably fall into the not so legal category, unfortunately. So yeah, you know, it's, I would say very best case scenario. I always say this, very best case scenario, you actually have a great photographer take some photos, or you get a nice camera and take some nice photos yourself. Next best case scenario would be you go with a really high-end stock photo that doesn't look cheap and cheesy because people don't, they want authentic, they want nice. So if you go with a really nice stock photo, it could be so nice that people don't realize it's a stock photo, like Getty Images kind of stuff. We've worked with like banks that use Getty Images, and you would never know that they didn't have an amazing photographer go take those themselves, but those are really expensive. Next best case scenario would be, your iStock, Shutterstock, those kind of level where, you're probably going to pay between $8 and $15 an image. That's not too bad, but those can kind of look cheap and cheesy sometimes. And then below that would be Unsplash, which hopefully you're not going to use an image that the next ad is going to be using as well, because everybody uses the free Unsplash images, I feel like, nowadays. So.
Right. Well, we are 15 minutes over time, so I will let you have the last word, Zach.
I am so sorry. Thanks, guys, for your patience. We'd love to hear from you, so don't be afraid to drop us a line. Regardless, have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much for coming.